projection, 'cause it's time to wake people up. Right here, right now.
Hey everybody, and welcome to the Horry Sheet Show. In this video, I'm going to be sharing how I left my body several times a week when I was a bit younger. And there's also a term that I'm going to be using in this video called astral slipping. And after hearing my explanation of it and how it applied to me getting out of my body so much, by accident really, I hope that you'll be able to take that information and actually begin to explore more techniques that you can even make up on your own. So first of all, let me begin to tell you my routine that I feel was very important for this experience to happen so consistently. I was 16 years old, still going to high school, sophomore year. I didn't really have a bedtime anymore, so I would end up going to sleep at about 3 or 4 in the morning, and I would have to wake up and wait for my school bus to pick me up at about 6 a.m. And I was only leaving myself just a few hours of sleep here. When I would wake up from my alarm clock, I'd basically just stumble around and turn off my alarm clock, and then I'd fumble around and put some clothes on, you know, and I just was hoping I didn't look too terrible, right? I would then just grab my books and drag them down the hallway and into the bathroom. From there, I'd wet my hair just a little bit. I'd start brushing my teeth, keeping myself real sleepy the whole time. Then I'd go in the living room. I'd take everything and I'd sit in the living room, and I'll just close my eyes and wait for the school bus to start making its way down my street. I was the first one that this bus picked up in the morning, so I had to wait for it to pick up all of the other children before we ended up having to get off the bus. And this process took about 30 to 40 minutes for him to pick up all the other kids after me. And all I would try to do was fall back asleep the whole time. And this made my mind basically get so many power naps, and I tried to keep myself not really awake at all. And I did a lot of this with one eye open sometimes. I would just get dressed with like one eye and walk everywhere, the whole time just keeping myself mostly asleep. Anyway, once this bus would finally reach school, it would be at the middle school, okay? So that's the one I graduated from in 8th grade, which means I'd have to get off of that bus and get on another bus and let it take me to the high school. And that's another 20-minute ride, or another 20-minute power nap for me. Anyway, when I would finally get to school from the second bus, I would get off the bus and I'd either sit or I'd stand there along the wall just like this and really trying to go back to sleep the whole time, just waiting for the moment I could get into class. And when I'd finally get into class and sit in my desk, this is where the magic happens. But before I get into that, let me tell you why this routine is so important. And let me just recap everything that happened real quick. Starting with about 2, maybe even 4 hours of sleep, I would wake up, then I would get a few quick power naps on the first bus to the middle school. Also, I would get woken up a lot by random bumps and noises and things like that too. So very interrupted naps, okay? Then I would get on the other bus and have the same thing for about 20 minutes. After that, I would wait around, keeping myself as sleepy as possible outside school like this, just standing along the wall for about 15 minutes until the school doors finally opened and I got to sit into my desk for class. So several opportunities for power naps here is very important, a whole lot of interrupted sleep. At this point, okay, my body is extremely tired. It is ready to finally go back to sleep without being on a bumpy, noisy bus. And that's really all I was trying to do this whole time. I just wanted to get back to my desk and go to sleep. So I would throw my hoodie over my head and I would sit up in my desk and try to fall asleep. So this is how I would sit in the desk. I would put my right arm in my lap and I would hold my left elbow with my right hand, and my left hand would be on my face just like this. So I would be holding my head up with it, and my right arm and elbow would just be relaxing and sort of helping me brace my whole position. I would get my back in the chair, you know, comfortably. I made sure I wasn't going to slide out of the desk, and I would throw my hoodie on, and it would be cold a lot, so I'd be nice and warm and comfortable in this hoodie. And I would just sit like this. I'd lock everything up and just sit like this. A pretty awkward position, I know, but comfortable for me for some reason. I don't know why. I would prop myself up like this as comfortably as possible, trying to lean back and balance myself correctly and not fall out. But I was always worried about falling out of the side of my desk. And this subconscious worrying is important, and I'll get into that in just a moment. But anyway, this is how I would sit for about 15 minutes until the teacher finally came in. So for the whole time, I would just be passively observing the changes in my environment while simply trying to listen for the teacher to come in and call roll so he wouldn't mark me absent. And all I was doing is listening to students come in and set their books down or start to gossip, etc., etc. This kept my mind fairly active, and my body was so ready to go to sleep after about 10 minutes of sitting in that desk. And after about 10 minutes, I'd start to feel the sensations of my body falling asleep, but I didn't know that that's what was happening. For example, I'll be listening to somebody like talking about their homework or something that night with a friend, and all of a sudden I'd feel like I'm slipping out of my desk sideways. And for the longest time, I would simply shift myself back a little bit and reposition myself. And I'd get comfortable, and all of a sudden I'd start feeling like I'm slipping sideways. So I'd shift myself back again to get comfortable, and I'd start slipping out again. And it was basically happening so often that I got really tired of it. So to make a long story short, after I began to notice that every time I would shift my body back to a comfortable position, I would instantly snap back to that position. It took me a while to realize I was actually doing this snapping thing. I thought I was actually moving my body just enough every time to get perfectly back into that comfortable original position that I started in. But under close inspection, I realized that this movement was happening instantly. It wasn't like my body had to slide back anywhere to get back to its original position. Once I would feel like I slipped about 3 to 4 inches one way, and I'd go to fix myself, I'd be right back to that original position in a snap. So this really confused me a lot, but it happened so many times in like 1 hour that I had to really start studying it. So anyway, I told myself, look, I'm not even gonna care anymore. I'm just gonna go ahead and slip right out of the desk. And if I'm really slipping, I hope I wake up before I hit the ground. I just really wanted to go back to sleep. So the next time I felt like I was slipping, which happened again fairly quickly, I just let myself go. I felt like I was simply falling further and further out of my desk. Like the friction that was there on my back being pressed against the back of my desk was just not making me stay there anymore. At this time, I just didn't care though. And when my body was going over the side of my desk into a free-falling position, basically, I suddenly got vision. And I was actually in my astral self falling out of my desk. I still remember my nose almost touching the bottom of the floor during that experience because I fell almost all the way to the floor. And I picked myself up and I looked at my body sitting in the desk, and that's when it hit me. So I told you the whole story, the whole morning routine to say this. Because I was worried about falling out of my desk, due to the way that I had to sort of balance myself in it in the first place, just that little bit of worry about falling out was actually starting to take place at the moment my body fell asleep. So the slipping was actually my astral body slipping out of my desk, just the way I was worried about it doing at the point of my physical body falling asleep. So my mind was active and listening to my surroundings and waiting for the teacher to come in and start class. So I was keeping my mind fairly active and fairly awake throughout this whole process. However, my body, being a bit sleep deprived and really wanting to go back to sleep, was just trying to fall asleep as quickly as it could. And because I was worried about falling out of my desk, that's the first thing that would happen. And it wouldn't always happen like this. Sometimes I would feel normal exit sensations. I would get a tingling at the top of my neck when I would sit there like that. I would just get a tingling, and it came with a purring sensation. You know how a cat makes that purring sound? It's kind of like that feeling happens in my bones when I'm in paralysis state. That's what the vibrations feel like to me most of the time. And for me, I mean, vibrations and paralysis come at the same time. If I get those vibrations or purring feelings in my bones, I'm in the paralysis state. So if you're going to try my sit-up OBE method, you'll want to figure out a simple way to create astral slipping. You can do this by either replicating my body position that I gave in my school story, or another way that I figured out how to do this was by planting the bottom of my foot straight onto a wall in front of me. So if there's a wall in front of me and my foot was just planted straight onto it as I'm sitting in a chair. That's what I'm talking about. And I sort of tricked my mind into believing that my foot may slip and fall to the floor at any moment. And I can do this by keeping different amounts of pressure on the wall with my foot, and maybe moving my chair a little further back from the wall so it barely has any grip, just to get that grip just right. So the trick is to have your foot not gripping the wall too firmly, but only enough to have it not slide down. And if you're like me, you may feel like your foot's gonna start slipping after a while. So try to make yourself think that your foot probably won't stay on the wall by itself. Remind yourself, that it's not glued to the wall. Remind yourself that it's barely there, and you got to try to believe it may start slipping. If done correctly, there may be some part in the back of your mind that tells you it could fall at any second. And try to go to sleep like that. And sure enough, as soon as you're trying to go to sleep, you might feel it start to slip down the wall. This would happen to me during chemistry class because there was a certain table in front of me that was there, and it would allow me to prop my foot on it, and I was trying to go to sleep in that class too. I didn't want to learn any chemistry. And it would just start slipping the same way that I would start slipping out of my desk. It's the same concept here that I'm talking about, this astral slipping. If you can create some part of your mind that worries about your body moving one way or the other given the position that it's in, you should be able to create astral slipping. And at the point of your body falling asleep, your astral body will separate, because it will begin to make that thought a reality one way or the other upon your senses slipping into the astral realm. So if you're keeping your mind awake throughout this process, you'll feel some slipping or some moving. If you manage to get these sensations at all, start doing your favorite exit technique, or try to enhance those feelings of the moving limbs. So for example, if you feel like you're falling out of the desk or letting your foot slip to the floor, all you're doing is allowing your astral body to fully separate. Once you get far enough from your physical body, you should get vision. And you may also have vision throughout this whole process too. Everyone is different. Now, if you don't get the slipping feelings, but you're getting the tingling in the back of your neck when you're trying this technique, simply try to visualize yourself sliding out of the chair or falling out of the chair, or maybe visualize your foot sliding off the wall at that point. Try to make that astral slipping happen with your body's position. If you're lucky, your limbs will start separating and parts of you may feel floaty. Otherwise, simply try to visualize yourself standing up and getting out of the chair once you get that tingling or vibrations or paralysis feeling. When you do this though, you need to feel every part of this. You have to get all of your senses involved and recreate in your mind exactly how it would feel to actually stand up and move out of that desk or that chair. If done correctly, this would create vibrations throughout the parts of your body you're thinking about moving. Go with it and focus on that vibration feeling. Couple that with the movement of your visualization that you're doing, and assume that the vibrations are your astral self, because that's what it is. The vibrations are the separation of your astral body from the physical frame. There are several different ways to actually leave the body once you reach the paralysis or the vibration state, and I'll be sharing some of my other tricks in time. If you have any questions, let me know and I'll make a follow-up video or something like that. I also may take this technique and shorten it up and put up a different video at another point. But I do feel like the sleep schedule and the morning routine was extremely important for this to work. I don't think it's required to make this technique work. I just think it's allowed this technique to work a whole lot more consistently. Thanks for watching the video, everyone, and if you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments section, please. If you like this technique that's presented, click on that thumbs up button, subscribe for more, all that jazz. Let me know what you think, because listen, your feedback is totally appreciated. I'm just here to help everybody and share what I know, and it really helps me shape my next videos too. So check out the Facebook page for more, and I'll see you next time on the Horry Sheet Show.